I actually just played the Nintendo Switch 2, and it was insane. We went to the Toronto Switch 2 experience, and somehow I got in through the lottery system. I don't know how, but boy howdy am I glad I did, because this whole thing just feels so surreal. Now, you should know, I've been making Switch 1 videos for years, so you better believe this is something I've been waiting for a long time. Not only did I play a ton of games, but I actually got hands-on with the console itself, and I was trembling. And look, they even gave me a backpack. What the heck? This is crazy. So let's start from the beginning. I went via train. We love trains.
We're taking the train. I like the train.
And I went with Brandon, Quentin, and Jordan. And getting there was actually an entire experience. We got off on the wrong stop, so. And that left us running around to find a different train like madmen. Anyways, eventually we got the right train and we were on our way. We're here. We're at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. I got a chest mount.
We got it, but apparently they have like a lot.
I don't look weird, you do. So we're currently waiting. Apparently you get a free bag if you play every single game. Challenge accepted. It's actually over a 2-hour experience. I thought it was only an hour. I don't know if I'm actually emotionally ready or prepared to go and touch the Switch 2. I've been waiting for this for so long. I might actually tear up a little bit. But I got my chest mount and I'm ready to do it. Oh yes, it's not important yet, but this legend's name is D-Man. We got chatting in the line before getting in, but the plot thickens with him. This isn't the last time you'll be seeing him, trust me. We eventually got inside, they checked our bags and made sure we didn't bring any weapons, double-use security, and you instantly saw these massive red walls that said Nintendo Switch 2. After we checked in, they brought us to this like waiting room thing, but this is where they showcased the actual console. The first time I saw it, I was shocked by how much bigger it looked. On top of that, the sleek black color looked really good in person, especially with the colored accents. It was wild, my mans. And there was so much on display too. They had the console setup in multiple ways, and the dock, on the kickstand, and of course, the box. The friggin' box was on display, and I was foaming at the mouth. They had the base model box and the Mario Kart bundle box. It's just Mario Kart in the top right corner. I mean, it's cool. I like the box, it's good. But the craziest part was at the front of the line. They had an actual model of the Switch 2 you could get hands-on time with. I kid you not, I was actually shaking. I don't know what's wrong with me. Look at this. What's wrong with me?
Oh my gosh, we can go touch it.
So I walked up to that dummy model, and you already know what I did.
Wow. Oh my, it feels way bigger than I thought. Yo, thumbnail.
I went ham and fiddled with the Switch more than I fiddled with anything in my life. I tried to pull off the Joy-Con to see if I could get it off without pressing the release button, and it actually took a good amount of force to get it off. I was able to pull it off with my strength, but these are strong enough magnets that you shouldn't just be able to take it off on accident, which is, well, that's good. I also instantly checked to see if it had that iconic Switch 2 wiggle from the OG Switch. You know what I'm saying? When you like grab the console and you can kind of just like feel the Joy-Cons wiggling. And this one was very solid. Maybe it's because it's new, and maybe it'll wear down over time, but my first impression was that it was much better. It felt a lot less flimsy, less like a toy, more like an actual like beefy console. There might have been a little bit of a wiggle, but it was definitely way more solid than not. I also looked on the inside where the controllers attach, and it has this connector that for some reason everyone online thinks is gonna break. I touched it, I played with it a little bit, and it's a lot more sturdy than I thought it would be. If this breaks, that's completely on you, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. Just from feeling it for the first time, it was really beefy, but also much lighter than I expected. It felt like a high-end, quality version of just the basic Switch, and bigger. Can't complain there. Also, the sticks. They felt really good. Noticeably higher quality. I don't even care if they're Hall Effect sticks. They felt just great. And obviously, just bigger overall, which is a huge win. And there's still so much I could say about the console itself, but while I was aggressively caressing the system, there was a lady over the speaker saying that they were getting 4 groups ready to go in and play Mario Kart World. So we walked in with the staff cheering like they thought I was Reggie himself. They lined us up to play a basic game of Mario Kart, and when we got to the setup, I ended up playing a split screen match with Brandon. They had just rows and rows of TVs, and these TVs were like OLED, beautiful, loud sound bars blasting the game audio, and of course, not only did we start playing Mario Kart, but they also gave us the Joy-Con 2s with the grip. They're actually a good choice for a controller. controller. I honestly think it could replace the need to buy a full-blown Pro controller for a lot of people, thankfully. But anyways, back to Mario Kart. I started using some of the new features like the multiple tricks in the air, the rail grinding, and I got to use the sweet new items. And also visually, it was just better. Like Mario Kart 8 looks great, but this game looks really, really great. I know, sorry I'm getting so technical. I was just blown away. It looked fantastic for a Mario Kart game, especially at that crisp 4K 60 frames per second. I played about 3 races and it felt new and fresh every single time. I also played as Bowie Kachawi, the GOAT. I have a Lego version of him right there. Speaking of characters, the animation and expressiveness are a huge step up from the previous installment. Also, why in the world are the characters and the costumes on the same selection screen? It made the character selection a bit overwhelming, I'll be honest, it did. I hope they fix that for the full build of the game, although it didn't seem like they were going to in the Nintendo Direct. But yeah, this game was a blast, and it was fun to get the hang of it, even if I sucked. And after the first race, they even let me try out handheld mode. And this was the only time during the whole experience you could actually try it out. This thing felt amazing to play. It's bigger, which makes it way more comfortable, and as you know, I love the sticks so much I could eat them up. Yummy. But when I was playing handheld, the display really surprised me. As we all know, the screen is an OLED, which made me think initially that the colors wouldn't pop as much, but they really did. This display supports HDR, which basically makes it very bright. Combine that with the resolution boost up to 1080p, plus the HDR, and this actually rivals the OLED screen. Now the black levels won't be as deep, but no doubt this is still an upgrade in comparison. At least I think so. I didn't have them side by side, and maybe it was just new and fresh, and I was just glazing it up as hard as I possibly could. But right then and there, I was like, oh, this is good. That feels nice. I only played one round in handheld mode, but it was really fun, and I love playing handheld mode. Now, I will say, I've heard a lot of people say that this game feels a little boring, and yeah, some gameplay footage, you might totally see that. I mean, some parts were just long roads, but I think the reason it might look and feel a little boring is because the Nintendo rep actually said this demo was being played at 100cc, which is why it looks so slow for those Mario Kart veterans out there. There was also steering assist on, which was helpful for me, but made it a little difficult to try to go off track for shortcuts and made grinding on rails a little more finicky. I also don't know about you, but I completely forgot about that new jumping mechanic thing. But I think the thing that made Mario Kart World stand out to me, and what makes this a proud day one pickup, is the next mode they made us play after we finished playing these standard races with our buddies in split screen. They took us to another room, a room where I heard screaming and yelling, and that was because we were about to play Knockout Tour. As they were lining us up to play these, I finally got my sweet baby hands on a Pro controller, and I know they are very similar to the old Pro controllers, but I don't know if it was just the fact that this whole experience felt so surreal, or if the controllers actually were better. The Pro controller felt really good. I think it was the texture of it, not even like the shape, the texture. Maybe because it's newer than my old Pro controller, but the texture felt much grippier, and the bumpers felt firm, but also somehow softer. I don't know how to put it into words. I would talk about it more, but I was too busy playing Mario Kart. So Knockout Tour is a game mode where 24 players race against each other, and it's practically Fortnite, where if you're the last in the race, you slowly get eliminated. At every checkpoint, 4 players get knocked out. When we started, you could select your character, and I went for the slithery guy Wiggler because he has sauce, naturally. And when we waited for the 24 players to load in, you got thrown into a lobby where you could actually freely move around. This is what I assume free mode will be like, and honestly, that's fine by me. The movement felt excellent, and the map felt built for it. I also just thought it was neat how players were just running around in the same lobby. And once a cup was selected, all 24 players clenched themselves and got ready to race. And yeah, that's just crazy to say. 24 people in the same room. We're just playing the exact same match. 24 people. Nintendo was cooking, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not kidding. Once the race started, it was an instant giggle fest. I had never been so stressed out playing Mario Kart. It was exhilarating. I can't even explain it. The mode goes through a bunch of tracks, and since it's open world, all the tracks are connected, but they all worked really seamlessly. I did notice a few open roads that felt a little long and a little boring, but I think once I understand the game more, it'll make sense. I really just think I need to play this more. Unfortunately, I lost halfway through. Quentin also got pretty far, but the boy, the myth, clutched the win against all of us. That's right, D-Man won. I can't believe this. And once again, we're not done with him yet. Stay with me here. After Knockout Tour, we were funneled into yet another room. That's right, we get to play as Donkey Kong. They made us play Donkey Kong Bonanza for 20 minutes, and I was ready. I was just looking forward to smashing everything you possibly can. But when I actually played this, I had a few issues that I want to talk about. But first, let's talk about the good here. The movement and chaos that this game brings is very addictive. I think this absolutely nailed the feeling of smashing things and the terrain breaking down around you. I can already see how crazy the speedrunning community is going to get with this game. It also feels really good, and visually, it looks very similar to Odyssey, just balanced in 4K 60 frames per second with a ton of particle effects and things constantly flying around. Now, my biggest issue with this demo and what kind of made it drag on, which I hate saying because I really wanted them to pull me away from this with me kicking and screaming. But I don't feel like this game demo was really guiding you very well. It felt a little aimless at times. I honestly felt like the majority of the time was just me smashing stuff and saying, yay, it's fun to smash stuff. There are these doors you can enter very similar to like shrines, and inside there are like these puzzles with platforms, or you have to defeat a certain amount of enemies. And that was great. I like that a lot. It also just took me a while to figure out the mechanics and controls, like how to break things, grab rocks, how to throw them, how the mining works both up and down, and even how you can slide on the rocks you grab like a skateboard. Like, there are just a lot of things to do, and Donkey Kong's moveset is hefty. And honestly, I really like that. It's just a little overwhelming when you know you have like 20 minutes to play it and try to experience as much as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like the direction this is headed. I think once I actually get the game and understand the collectibles, the basic level format, and everything else, it's going to click for me, and it could easily be a Game of the Year contender. But there's one thing about Donkey Kong Bonanza that shakes me to my core. I just had a voice crack. And that's the performance. I was in disbelief with how many frame dips I noticed while I was playing. With Nintendo constantly making the Switch 2's main gimmick the extreme power it brings, and with how much they boasted about graphics and performance, I did not expect to see any performance issues from any of the first-party Nintendo games like this. And yet, it was happening pretty often. Whenever the world around you was crumbling, it seemed to freak out a little bit. And especially when you brought up the 3D map that shows the full layout of the world, that was really bad frame rate. Like, noticeably bad. I guess you could argue that this could just be the demo build of the game, but if anything, you'd think they'd want to go out of their way to make sure this build looked flawless. I really hope that they figure out this frame rate issue before the full launch, but we'll have to wait and see. And you better believe I'll do a video on it, so subscribe. Now, after we finished up Donkey Kong, they just told us to let her rip. And they threw us out of the nest and let us spread our wings into the Switch 2 experience, where you could play a ton of games. Now, they gave us these cards at the beginning where you could only play 6 games, and whenever you go to a station to play a game, they'll just initial it, or they'll put the game name, and then, yeah, you could pick any 6 games to go play and enjoy yourself. And when we got in, we had about an hour to experience all those 6 games. So, for some reason, the 4 of us immediately booked it to Mario Party Jamboree, specifically so we could use this freaking camera. I did a whole video on it, but this camera, first of all, is smaller than I expected. Like, tiny. I actually finally felt tall beside it. Anyways, we jumped into Mario Party so we could play these mini games specifically made for the camera. And you can see on screen that I cropped out all 4 of us, and yeah, it did a fine job, but it still looks pretty pixelated and janky. But the real jankiness came with the first game where you had to balance a Goomba on your head. It was fine, it worked, but like, it wasn't really fun, nor was it really intricate as I wanted it to be. It felt like the camera had a pretty hard time tracking exactly where your head was, and it would just get kind of frustrating. But I was actually having a lot of fun just because it was so dumb, and we all knew it. There was also a coin mini game where you could just jump and collect coins. It actually worked surprisingly well, so that was cool. But the best one came at the end, when Bowser forced us to move and scream as loud as possible. And this got wild. I felt like everyone looked over at us like we were getting mugged right then and there. I mean, just listen. Okay, maybe we took it a little too far. Maybe we screamed a little too loud. But that's Mario Party. The reason that we needed to scream was because it was actually using the mic on the Switch 2 console, but I think the mic was blocked off because you can see that the level on the mic was like pretty low. I don't actually think that was working very well. Could just be the setup though. After that game, we decided to split off and tackle our own games. This is also when I met up with theboysc.com. You all know him, he's epic. I've also noticed that most of my audience watches him. He's like #1. He was pretty much leaving right when we were getting started, so I couldn't yell at him during Mario Party. But he did stick around to help me shoot a little bit of the next game I played, Metroid Prime 4. This was probably my favorite game I played at the event next to Mario Kart, because it really gave me a new perspective on it. Like, going into this, I wasn't a huge Metroid Prime guy. I really enjoyed 2D Metroid games, but back when I played Metroid Prime Remastered, I really tried to push through it, and my brain just couldn't do it anymore because of the backtracking and the puzzles. I literally just wasn't smart enough to finish it. So with that, I was always interested in Prime 4 and was going to to try it out no matter what, but when I played it here, I walked away from this event even more excited about it. And this was the only game at the event that really utilized the mouse mode feature in a shooter setting, which is how I think the mouse mode on the Switch will be utilized the most. Shooter games. And it made this game feel so much more elegant and faster, snappier. And I even turned the mouse sensitivity up higher because I just couldn't get enough. Not only did the mouse feature pop off, but the fact that the demo was being played at 120 frames per second made it really smooth. It was very high quality, boys and girls. Now, the mouse mode did make my hand feel a little cramped after a while. It wasn't unbearable, but I could definitely start feeling it. I mean, this could just be because I'm not used to it yet. I also noticed that clicking the buttons on the mouse Joy-Con was a little difficult, but there will no doubt be accessories that allow you to use this as I'm sure like an actual mouse. So that'll be interesting to see when those come out. Thankfully though, you could seamlessly swap back to gyro or stick aiming if you wanted, but I can definitely see how much this is actually going to help shooters on the platform. Also, the game was just fun. There was a boss fight at the end that just wouldn't die, but fighting it and figuring out the patterns was a blast. Now, from there I wanted to test a game that I've already played before, one that includes the boy Kirby. Kirby in the Forgotten Land and the Star-Crossed World DLC. This game already looked amazing on the current Switch, so the fact that we're getting it at 4K 60 frames per second is just incredible. The art style complements it so well, and I was really blown away by just how much 4K 60 frames per second really does for this game visually. The DLC seems to be a mix of the old levels and new levels. There's even this new spring mouthful mode that was pretty fun to use, but other than that, I don't really have much else to say about it. It'll be fun to see what other content they add, but the big thing here is that resolution and frame rate boost. Obviously, this is a day one pickup for me. I love Kirby. But next up, I really wanted to test out some third-party games, because if you're a Switch player at all, you'll know third-party games on Switch 1 generally get the short end of the stick, if they get a stick at all. And then a handful of third-party games that I'm really excited for, like Split Fiction, Street Fighter 6, and Cyberpunk. Those are all launch games that I'm getting day one, you better believe it. And I'm so excited to test out how broken they are on my channel when they come out, so stay tuned and subscribe. But first, let's look at Cyberpunk. We all know that this game was practically banned and broken on last-gen consoles like PS4 and Xbox One. So the fact it's coming to Switch 2, well, should be obvious, but it's also just a testament to what kind of power the Switch 2 will actually have. My first impression with Cyberpunk was, well, fine. I feel like the frame rate was hitching pretty often, but there was also just like a ton of motion blur on the screen. So it also seemed like the resolution was low, but I couldn't tell if that was just a mix of the motion blur or what. I asked the Nintendo rep that was helping me if this was performance mode, and he said yes. But gamers, it definitely wasn't, or at least I hope it wasn't. There's no shot this was above 30 frames per second. My eyeballs know, trust me. It was fine. I think I was kind of rushing through it because my time was running out and I still had other games I wanted to try. But I've also heard online that a lot of the upscaling wasn't actually enabled for the demo for some reason, which made the game look worse and perform worse. So hopefully a lot of the resolution and performance stuff gets tweaked and fixed at launch. Now, I also made the decision to play Street Fighter 6. I don't know why I did this. I really should have played something like the Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I just forgot that that was even there, and I wanted to fill up my card before I left. Anyways, regrets aside, I might as well talk about it if I played it. Street Fighter 6 was Street Fighter 6. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not a big Street Fighter guy, but I'm known to casually play it here and there. I think the most fascinating thing about this demo was actually the controls. For some reason, Street Fighter 6 got really quirky with the control options, so it gave me an opportunity to play it with the split Joy-Con on its side. And you know what? I'm actually very impressed with how comfortable the Joy-Con feels on its side now. With the new SL and SR buttons and the bigger stick and body, I mean, this is a really great option if you're in a pinch now. Definitely a lot better than the old Switch 1. I hate using the old split Joy-Con 1, but on the Switch 2 it's going to be much more bearable. In fact, good. But back to Street Fighter, there was a mode where you just shake the controller to punch and kick. It was the most unreliable way to play a fighting game ever. And I'm not even talking about calorie mode, where the only goal is to shake it violently to lose calories. Why did I play this? Now, I did pre-order Street Fighter 6, and I'm excited to actually play it on launch properly, and I also think that graphically and performance-wise, it's more than serviceable. I'm just kind of disappointed that I didn't use my time on another game. But hey, I got those amiibo. They're locked in, so that's good. While we're on the topic of third-party games, I went over to some other booths just to watch some gameplay, like Split Fiction and Hogwarts Legacy. These are two beautiful-looking games when it comes to graphics, but you can definitely tell that they're not truly next-gen visuals. A PS5 version would still look better than these. These are playing at a higher resolution with better textures and particle effects and everything, but they're still locked at 30 frames per second. Obviously, it's still much better than the Switch 1 could ever do, especially in Hogwarts Legacy, where you can directly compare these two. But I think that we need to remember that the Switch 2 is a slice of the size of current-gen consoles, like physically a slice of the size. And that's when it actually becomes really impressive. Comparing this to other handheld consoles and especially to the original Switch, this is a powerful handheld. Having third-party games optimized right out of the box is going to be a game changer for this console as well. Or at least that's what I saw. We'll have to see. The last game I played was one I needed to test out because I've been so torn about how I feel about this game, and I'm talking about Dragon Drive. The premise is simple. You play as a guy in a wheelchair, and it's a 3v3 game of basketball. Plenty of people have pointed out just how bleak the art style is, and yes, I completely agree. But it's the gameplay that makes me question everything. The way you move is just by pushing the Joy-Con on its mouse side, using the classic wheelchair movement, like this. This is what you do. And I'll give it some grace here. The mouse mode and the controls feel good, and the HD rumble in the controller make you feel like you're actually like moving, pushing the wheelchair. And it blends really well with the gameplay. However, the game is just not that fun. And maybe it's because I was playing with a bunch of strangers who literally took forever to get through the tutorial, but there didn't seem to be much of a strategy except roll towards the ball and try to shoot. And the thing is, yes, it's fun to play and it's very unique, but the controls are just frustrating at times because it's hard to control the chair. And maybe that's the fun in it, but still, I think once you actually get used to it and you have a group of friends who are down to try it out, there could be some fun to be had. Just not here. And I think it really depends on just how much more content Nintendo adds to it. And if it isn't very cheap, it could actually be dead on arrival. Most people I talked to thought it was the most mid-game possible, and I completely agree. Now again, I didn't get a chance to play everything. I missed Welcome Tour, but also the GameCube NSO expansion. I walked over to look at the controller, and yeah, it's a GameCube controller with a C button. I just didn't really want to play old GameCube games when I was there to play new games. But hey, they looked good, so there you go. I was really just so happy to be playing this console. I've been waiting for the Switch 2 for such a long time, and I can't wait to finally get my hands on it when it comes out. I've got my pre-order locked in. I'm just excited to make a ton of videos that you all can enjoy. But then it was time to leave the event. A sad, sad time, a slow walk down the exit hall. And yes, one of the most incredible things that they did wasn't even the games themselves. The backpack alone. They gave us just a free backpack. I just don't understand how they could just do this. I'm sure their budget was high though. You're welcome. And then we left the building, and there he was.
Good at Mario Kart, I swear.
Yo, you actually were. You totally. What's your name?
Daniel, go online by D-Man.
D-Man won our knockout tour. Smoked it.
And just as suddenly as he arrived, he was gone. Goodbye, D-Man. Well, that was fun. Thanks for watching this video. Have you had a chance to play the Switch 2 yet? Also, if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member and get your name added to the end. YouTube thinks you're going to want to watch this video next, so you should probably do that. All right, see ya.